Anisha, sit down. Come close, sit down, and hear. And it also says that one should approach a spiritual master with sacrificial ingredients. That means something to offer to Kṛṣṇa. In other words, we don't just sit around and talk about this stuff. We actually live a life of sacrifice, where everything we do is for the pleasure of Kṛṣṇa. And when we do like that, then we're released from all of the karmic reactions of our activities. And you might say, oh yeah, I've heard this before. Oh yeah, you always talk about this on the forum and blah, blah, blah. Well, then how many of you are doing this? How many of you are actually living a fully devotional life? My guess would be there's not too many. From the questions that I see on the forum and like that, it seems there's not too many people who really understand this philosophy and are really living according to it and following all the principles and chanting and reading the scriptures and so on. Otherwise they wouldn't ask such dumb questions. So a while ago, Peter, you were talking about coming down to Mexico, and now we don't hear anything about that anymore. So what's going on? That's my question to you. Dum, 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 dum.
But I study 14 hours a day, says poor Laura.
14 hours a day?
14 hours a day.
Well, that's great. Well, Laura is one of the few people that I don't have any problems with. Laura's always asking very nice questions and asking them in the proper way with a good attitude, so I don't have any problems. But when people say, when someone says to their spiritual master, I'm going to do this service, and then they don't do it, that's an offense. See? If you make a promise to your spiritual master and then you don't actually do what you said you were going to do, that's an offense. And because of that, that means you fall down from devotional life. So one has to be very cautious, very careful about not to offend the spiritual master or the pure devotee. You know, that's why, Peter, you really need to get your act together and be clear about what you're going to do. And either do it or don't do it, but be clear about it, and don't say I'm going to do this and then do something else. Because that's an offense. The first quality of a real devotee is truthfulness. Truthfulness means when I say I'm going to do something, I do it. And if I say, if I'm really honest and someone asks me to do something and I can't do it, I'll have to explain, oh, actually, I can't do that. It's beyond me. I'm not qualified. I'm not capable. No? So, honesty, truthfulness, sincerity, integrity, these are very important qualities of a devotee. And you see all the real devotees, all the really advanced devotees, they all have this quality, that whatever they say, they do it, even if it causes them a lot of inconvenience. Because why? It's called Vak Siddhi. Vak means speech, and Siddhi means perfection. So the perfection of speech is that when you say you're going to do something, you do it. The Paṇḍavas were really into this. And they went so far as even if someone said something accidentally, they would all adjust the situation so that those words would come out to be true. For example, one time when the Paṇḍavas were in exile, they were disguised as brahmanas. And they heard that they were in the Koshala, area, city of Kṛṣṇa. And they heard, oh, the daughter of the king of Kṛṣṇa is having a Swayamvara ceremony. Swayamvara is popular among the Kshatriyas. It means that the Kshatriya princesses would choose their own husband. Instead of the family choosing for them, they would choose themselves. Well, this is Kshatriya move. So Arjuna and his brothers said, come on, let's go. So they went, disguised as brahmanas. And their disguise was so good that nobody could recognize them. Nobody knew who they were. And the trick was that there was, in the palace assembly hall, which was a big, big hall, like a concert hall or something, suspended from the roof, there was a fish, a golden fish. And underneath the fish, there was a wheel with many spokes, constantly turning. So the contest was, you had to shoot an arrow through the spokes of the wheel and hit the eye of the fish exactly. Otherwise, forget it. You couldn't even make a bid. You're out. So many great warriors, great kings, great bowmen were there, and they all tried to hit the fish, but I mean, most of them couldn't even string the bow. It was this really heavy bow, a really strong bow, and most of them couldn't even string the bow. They couldn't even it would just fly out of their hands, and they would be knocked on the floor, and next. So finally Arjuna said, I'm going to try. So Arjuna went up, and he took the bow, strung it, and there was one more little wrinkle. Yes. You had to aim. You couldn't aim directly at the fish. You had to aim in the reflection of a pool of water that had ripples in it. I guess they had some water dripping in or something like that, and it had ripples. So it was really tricky. So Arjuna pulls up the bow, and he looks in the water, and he goes, Narayan! Shoots the bow, and it goes right in the fish's eye. Of course, so he won the girl, right? He got the girl. And of course, this is a Kshatriya wedding, so they're going, what is this Brahmana doing? Showing us all up. And so they attacked him. And so Arjuna very easily just broke all of their bows and arrows with his arrows, and then walked off with the girl. So when they got home, Mother Kunti was cooking in the kitchen, and so they were all standing outside, and Arjuna, Yudhishthira said, "Oh, Mother, look at the alms that we begged today." Because as brahmanas, they're supposed to live by begging alms, right? So he jokingly said, "Come look at the alms that we begged today." Talking about the girl, right? And so Kunti, without looking, she's cooking, she says, "Well, make sure and share it with all your brothers." Oops. So then she turned around and oh, now what are we going to do? And so they're all sitting around going, oh man, what a problem. And then Vyasadeva just happens to show up by coincidence. So they ask Vyasadeva, well, what do we do now? And Vyasadeva said, well, all 5 of you marry her. That's what Kunti said, And she's your mother, so you have to do it. Plus, this is not unknown. And he recited several histories from ancient days, mostly in Satya Yuga, where a woman wed several brothers. In fact, Vyasadeva himself created children in the womb of his brother's wife, because his brother was impotent. He couldn't create children. He was infertile. So Vyasadeva, as the brother, came and made his wives pregnant. And actually from that, the brothers Pandu and Dhritarashtra and Vidura were born from the three wives of Maharaj Santanu. So Vyasadeva was no stranger to the old ways, and so he recommended, well, you all marry her. And so they made a deal. They said, okay, we'll all five marry her, and then she'll stay with each one for 1 year.